Hi, it's Recap House again. Today I will make a recap of an American Games parody film called The Longest Yard. Spoilers ahead! Look out and enjoy. The hero of the film is a previous Public Football Association quarterback named Paul Crewe, who just beverages day in and day out. Quite a while back, he had to resign because of match-fixing claims, despite the fact that it has not been demonstrated. Nonetheless, he has been condemned to 5 years of probation until the specialists arrive at a last decision. One evening, his sweetheart, Lena, sets up a tremendous party at her home. However, Paul, who appears to be uninterested, keeps watching football over certain beverages. This maddens Lena. Also, she takes steps to expel him out of her home in the event that he doesn't associate with her visitors. Paul claims to oblige, however, at that point he cunningly locks her inside the storeroom and exits the house. He then takes his better half's Bentley for a drive around through the city roads. Sooner or later, one of the visitors liberates Lena, who promptly reports her taken vehicle to the police. Paul is in the long run pulled over. However, he is toasted the point that he avoids the police and proceeds driving carelessly. Sadly for him, the entire pursuit is communicated real-time on TV, drawing in huge number of watchers from the nation over. His generally awful standing is presently being tossed into the drain. Lena calls Paul and orders him to stop. She additionally lets him know that he is being shown live on television. However, Paul could mind less. He affronts her and keeps driving, just to end up in a chaotic mishap. At long last, a few squad cars encompass him and the pursuit reaches a conclusion. For his tricks, Paul's probation is renounced and he is condemned to 3 years in jail. Shockingly, taking into account his athletic abilities, he rapidly turns into a sought-after convict, and a few penitentiaries begin mentioning his exchange. Finally, a Texan jail superintendent named Rudolph, who is additionally a devoted football fan, utilizes his leverage to have Paul moved to his jail. He needs to designate Paul as the chief of his own football crew, made out of his jail monitors. The superintendent accepts that this will upgrade his standing for future decisions as state lead representative. Be that as it may, the jail's horrifying head monitor, Chief Nauer, doesn't need another skipper in his group. An overseer who helps him in enrolling individuals for the group. They interview in a real sense every one of the prisoners, regardless of whether they have zero involvement with football. Paul even selects a fat man who can scarcely run 50 meters without dropping. The group framing process draws in a previous school football star named Nate Scarborough, who offers to turn into their mentor. He converses with Paul and overseer. What's more, recommends gathering those detainees who are tired of the oppressive gatekeepers. What's more, are gunning for retribution. This will give the group a decent safeguard. A while later, Guardian urges Paul to look for help from the dark detainees to acquire genuinely necessary hostile strength and speed. Taking his recommendation, Paul approaches Minister Greenery, their chief, and requests that he join the reason. In any case, the terrifying-looking person promptly declines, saying he doesn't follow orders from anybody. To convince Minister, Paul moves him to a one-on-one ball game, expressing that if he wins, Minister should join the football crew. The last option obliges, and the game starts in the midst of weighty cheering from the dark detainees. Paul, who is a talented competitor, plays brilliantly and scores some great focuses. Be that as it may, Minister unreasonably pushes him to the ground a few times. The game is still extremely close, yet without a moment to spare, Minister again cheats and dominates the game. Frustrated, Paul continues to leave, yet right then, at that point, Duke Megget, one of the dark detainees, says that he is intrigued. In this way, he consents to join his football crew as a running back. Paul is elated to have at long last tracked down somebody great. Afterward, he additionally prevails with regards to enrolling 2 other solid players for their team. As Paul's group becomes stronger, Chief Nauer and different watchmen attempt to hinder them in various ways. They incite Megget by verbally bothering him with ethnic slurs in the library. In any case, he figures out how to stay calm and composed and does not fight back. At the point when Elder and the other dark detainees witness this, they set rankled and choose to join Paul's group up to correct retribution. With this, the lineup is at last total, and the group begins preparing seriously to further develop their abilities step by step. Be that as it may, in spite of their advancement, they actually have an issue. A detainee named Unger keeps an eye in the groups exercises and reports them to the watchman to debilitate their group. To determine what is going on, Paul goes to see the superintendent and requests that Unger be taken out from the field. In any case, he gets no reaction and is rather requested to leave. It is obvious that even the superintendent doesn't believe the detainees should win. At some point, the gatekeepers deliberately flood the field to hold Paul's group back from rehearsing. This clearly baffles the group, yet Paul isn't willing to surrender. Along these lines, he conveys a moving discourse guaranteeing that the watchmen need to break their spirits since they fear losing. He then, at that point, inquires as to whether they need to return to their phones and tap out off, or on the other hand, to plan for the best vanquishing holiday in football history. This motivates the group to drive forward at their everything. So they all leap into the sloppy water and keep working on, astounding the onlooking watches. Around evening time, Paul has a discussion with Guardian where the last option drills down into his own life. He shares that his mom loved Paul until he was blamed for match fixing. Guardian then gruffly asks the justification behind what valid reason he did as such. However, Paul becomes sly and tries not to respond to it. As the days pass, Paul's group not just works on their abilities. In any case, they additionally slip into the clinical space to take steroids and other energy helping tablets for the game. Besides, they furtively watch the gatekeepers past game movies to know about the rivals' assets and shortcomings. In the interim, the treacherous Unger is having a gathering with the gatekeepers where he is requested to execute Paul at any expenses. Consequently, they vow to demand the superintendent to diminish his sentence. Unger promptly will work, and he establishes a combustible dangerous into Paul's radio. Inevitably, Overseer enters a similar cell to put a good luck gift for Paul. However, previously, he leaves. He unintentionally sets off the radio, causing an enormous blast. The guile Unger then rapidly dives in and locks the cell entryway from outside, keeping anybody from getting in. Along these lines, Guardian kicks the bucket, a horrendous demise, decimating his kindred detainees. The next day, the group is taken to the battleground for their large match. Still shaken by the deficiency of their old buddy, a large number of them are feeling quite wary in the event that they can play. Be that as it may, Paul figures out how to renew them by uncovering that before Guardian was killed, he utilized his associations and purchased a lot of value garbs and stuff for every one of the prisoners. He too named the group Mean Machine. Paul makes sense of that the group needs to continue and dominate the match for him. Hearing the genuine discourse, each and every part of the gang vows to put forth a valiant effort. Afterward, while everybody is preparing, the superintendent shows up to caution the prisoners about the many sharpshooters that will be encompassing the arena. Assuming anybody ponders on blending with regular citizens or attempting to get a move on, they will be shot in the head. In the long run, the match starts, however, for the initial couple of moments. The detainees are occupied by their own hard feelings against the watchmen, making them lose. Game focuses. Because of this, Paul struggles with making sense of his strategies for them. Along these lines, he gathers the group to a cluster and proclaims that Root would be a far more noteworthy wellspring of humiliation for the watchmen instead of any actual severity they could incur for them. Subsequent to understanding their errors, the prisoners start to zero in on the blueprint. Notwithstanding, the one-sided refs totally ruin their energy by calling fake punishments on them. At the point when this goes on for some time, Paul devises a system to end the uneven punishments and guarantee a fair game. He over and again fires the football into the official's groin, convincing them to be out of line from here on out. After this, Paul's group's exhibition improves inexplicably, as they have all the earmarks of being quicker and more grounded than the rivals. Toward the primary half's end, the Mean Machines wind up leveling the game's score. This infuriates the superintendent, who can't stand his watchman's group losing, so he corners Paul during halftime. He uncovers that Unger killed Guardian, yet in addition makes fraudulent complaints that Paul was associated with the whole plot, and that it will work however they choose to proceed it. Inevitably, the last round is going to start, and Paul professes to settle the group development, giving the feeling that there is a ton of disarray. He fakes to have a conflict with the coach, and the round starts. Shockingly, it's all essential for the arrangement. Prior to the adversaries understand that it's a stunt, Elder rapidly snaps the ball and passes it to Paul, who then, at that point, runs energetically. Notwithstanding being handled, he prevails with regards to scoring a score, driving the group to a 1-point triumph. The whole group emits an acclaim, and Nauer, who has acquired appreciation for Paul, compliments him on his triumph. He additionally tells Paul that he knows that he didn't have anything to do with Guardian's homicide and vows to back him up. Afterward, the superintendent reprimands Nauer for losing a decent game while likewise seeing Paul strolling towards the exit. Enthusiastically inferring that he is endeavoring to escape, the superintendent gives up a weapon to the chief and orders him to shoot Paul. Nauer is confused for what to do. What's more, similarly as he is going to pull the trigger, he understands that Paul is only recovering the match ball. Tired of the egotistical superintendent, Nauer returns the weapon and leaves. The film closes as Minister and Fight splash the superintendent with Gatorade, while Paul and Nate head to find Unger so they can manage him.